All right. We are going to have a lesson, and this is going to be the only video on this for this particular lesson. So it's called day 2, but it's a short lesson. So we're gonna try and keep it all in one video just to make it compact and easy for you to source it and find it and do what you need to do. So in this video, we're going to talk about situations in solving inequalities where you have to flip your sign around. Now, that's what makes this different. Besides the graphing piece, that's the other thing which makes this really different from graphing equations. Graphing equations, you never have to really do any kind of flipping or anything like that, because if you turn an equation sign around, it doesn't change it, right? It's exactly the same thing. However, with inequalities, it reverses it, changes it completely. And so we are going to look at when we would do that and have a little practice on that, okay? So let's, with no further ado, your learning target is to be able to solve a multi-step inequality involving a sign flip and graphing that solution on the number line. Okay, so here's the big part. When solving an inequality, if you multiply or divide both sides by a, all right, and so what are these slots? Well, it's whenever you do it by a negative number. All right, negative number. Okay, so whenever you do anything where you're like multiplying by a negative, or you're dividing by a negative, or anything like that, you are going to take that inequality sign and you're going to turn it the other way, right? And because if you don't, you'll see that you get an answer that doesn't coincide with the original inequality. Okay, all right. So here's what we have here. We have 8y is greater than this fraction right here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to clear the fraction. All right. And what we know about clearing fractions in algebra is you multiply both sides by whatever your denominator is, by your common denominator. Well, our common denominator is -4, so we're going to get rid of this. We're going to go and we're going to multiply this side by -4, and then we're going to multiply this side by -4, okay? And this is -4/1 for those of you who need that little reminder, okay? And so when we multiply -4 times 8, we get -32. And then when we multiply the other side, and the reason we do this is these essentially cancel each other out, right? And then you get -5y plus 9. Nothing changes with this, right? It stays exactly the same. But the one thing that does change overall in the inequality is we're going to take this sign and we're going to turn it around, okay? And now, at this point, you have a decision to make, right? You can move the variables over here and then move the numbers over there, which is normally what we would do because we like to have situations where our variables are positive. But in this case, I think I'm going to deal with having to divide by a negative because my number is already over here. There's no numbers over here. There's only variables. So I'm going to actually move the -5y over. Okay, and so we're going to do that by adding 5y. Okay, now when you add or subtract, regardless of the sign, you're not ever flipping the sign, right? Adding and subtracting does not have any impact on that, all right? So you get -27y is less than or equal to +9. And now your last step is you're going to divide both sides by whatever the coefficient is in front of your variable. Well, my coefficient's -27, all right? And now, again, we are now dividing by a negative sign. And because I'm dividing by a negative sign, we are going to flip our inequality sign back to where it was, right? And sometimes you'll flip it once, sometimes you flip it twice in the course of solving it. It just really, depends. And this gives you -1/3 because 9 goes into 27 3 times. It goes into itself once. and you've got your negative sign from dividing that negative 27. And so y is greater than negative 1/3. Well, if you have 0 here, and we have 1 here, right, and then we'll put 1, so that should be negative 1, right? And you have that, this would, negative 1/3 would be about there, so let's circle it. And then it's greater than or equal to, right? So we move it that way, and then we fill it because of the line there, right? Because that means it includes the sign. So that would be your negative 1/3 right there. Okay, and that's really all there is to it. We're not necessarily doing anything new from what you did before, but what we are doing is we are remembering that when we do have to divide or multiply by a negative number, we have to flip that sign. Okay, so why don't you pause the video, okay, and you can try this problem, and then come back, and we will have a go at it. Okay, I'm hoping you did that. Gave it a chance. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to first distribute this and get rid of our parentheses. Okay, some people might start this and do this a slightly different way, but I think for our purposes this works good. All right, next we're going to collect like terms because we always want to get it down to 2 terms on each side. So we'll have negative 4w, and then we're going to combine my negative 12 and my negative 1 into one constant, negative 13. And now we want to get this by itself. It makes more sense to move the constant over than it does to move the negative 4w and then the negative 21. Right? So let's move the constant over. So let's add 13 to both sides. So you're going to get negative 4w is greater than negative 8. And now my last step is to divide by whatever my coefficient is. My coefficient is negative 4. So we're going to get negative 4. And then when I write my answer, I'm going to flip my sign around. So I take that and I flip it to that. We get w because those cancel. And then negative divided by negative is positive 2. So w is less than 2. All right, so if we go 1, 2, 3, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. Put our open dot around the 2, and it's less than, so we're going to go this way. And put your arrow on, and you are finished. Okay, so I hope this helps you moving forward. This is the one thing that I see kids consistently forget to do. So it's unfortunately it's one of those things that you just have to remember. You have to remember whenever you do anything with multiplying or dividing with a negative with inequalities that you got to flip that sign around. Okay. All right. Go forth and work on inequalities. Thanks.